Picture this. You're standing on a tall bridge, holding two baseballs. If you drop one baseball straight down, and at the exact same split second, you throw the other baseball perfectly horizontally as hard as you possibly can, which one hits the ground first? Does the thrown ball take longer because it's traveling a greater overall distance? Or does gravity pull them down at different rates? Hold on to your answer. To solve this mystery, we have to understand exactly how objects behave when they're moving in more than one direction at the same time. This brings us right to the fascinating world of two-dimensional kinematics, and specifically a concept called the independence of motion. By the end of this lecture, you'll completely understand this concept, the math behind it, and exactly how to solve our baseball mystery. Our agenda for today covers the falling ball mystery, navigating the city grid, the Pythagorean shortcut, perpendicular motions, solving the ball mystery, and finally, a summary and next steps. Section 1. Navigating the city grid. Before we can solve our baseball mystery, we actually need to build some foundational math first. Imagine you're walking in a city like New York, where the streets are laid out in a perfect grid of square blocks. You need to get from point A to point B. Now, as a pedestrian, you obviously can't walk straight through the brick buildings. You're forced to take a two-dimensional zigzagged path. Let's say you walk 9 blocks east and then 5 blocks north. That's a total walking distance of 14 blocks. But what if you had a helicopter? Well, a helicopter doesn't care about the grid, right? It takes a direct, straight-line path right over the buildings. To analyze this in physics, we use what are called vectors. Vectors are simply quantities that have both a magnitude, like the number of blocks you walked, and a direction, like east or north. We represent them with arrows. I want you to literally imagine one arrow pointing 9 blocks east and a second arrow pointing 5 blocks north. That straight-line helicopter path is our third vector, connecting the start of the first arrow to the end of the second. So how do we calculate the exact length of that helicopter path? Section 2. The Pythagorean shortcut. Let's transition from the city grid to the actual formula we use to solve it. Let's walk through this step by step, just like we're at a whiteboard. Since our east and north paths are perpendicular, they form a perfect right triangle. That means we can use the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Step 1, we identify our legs. Leg A is our 9 blocks east. Leg B is our 5 blocks north. Step 2, we apply the formula. 9 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared, where c is that straight line helicopter hypotenuse. Step 3, we solve for c by taking the square root of 9 squared plus 5 squared. Wait, let's pause right here for a quick check. If you calculate the square root of 81 plus 25, you get exactly 10.3 blocks. We're using 10.3 because we maintain 3 significant figures for scientific precision, meaning that 9 blocks is mathematically treated as 9.00. Notice how this straight-line displacement of 10.3 blocks is considerably shorter than the 14 blocks you actually had to walk. Section 3. Perpendicular motions. So how exactly does moving 9 blocks east affect moving 5 blocks north? Well, think back to walking that grid. How far you walk east is absolutely only affected by your motion eastward. It has absolutely nothing to do with your motion north. This brings us to a textbook rule you absolutely must remember. The horizontal and vertical components of two-dimensional motion are independent of each other. That means any motion in the horizontal direction does not affect motion in the vertical direction, and vice versa. Section 4. Solving the ball mystery. We finally have the knowledge we need to solve our opening thought experiment. Let's bring back those two baseballs. Ball 1 is dropped from rest, so it only has vertical motion. Ball 2 is thrown horizontally at the exact same instant. It has vertical motion plus a constant horizontal velocity. Imagine we film this in a pitch-black room with a stroboscope flashing light at fixed, equal time intervals. If you look at the footage, it brilliantly illustrates the reality. For every single flash of the strobe, the vertical positions of the two balls are completely identical. As they fall, they are perfectly matched side by side on the vertical axis, even though ball 2 is flying forward. Now, you might be asking yourself, wait a minute, if one ball is moving forward, shouldn't it take longer to fall? I mean, it's traveling on a curved path, covering way more actual distance than the dropped ball. How can they possibly stay perfectly aligned vertically? The reason ties directly back to our core rule, the independence of motion. Gravity acts entirely in the vertical direction. It pulls both balls downward at the exact same rate. The fact that ball 2 was thrown horizontally adds zero force in the vertical direction. Horizontal velocity simply does not care about vertical gravity. Because these perpendicular motions are strictly independent, the forward movement does absolutely nothing to delay the drop. Therefore, assuming ideal conditions without air resistance, both balls hit the ground at the exact same time. I know it breaks our intuition, but the physics is undeniable. Section 5. Summary and next steps. Let's do a really quick wrap-up of what we learned. To summarize your key takeaways today, first, two-dimensional paths involve independent horizontal and vertical vectors. Second, the straight-line displacement of perpendicular vectors is found using the Pythagorean theorem. And most importantly, horizontal motion never ever affects vertical motion. A thrown object falls at the exact same rate as a dropped object. But before we finish, think about this. We use the Pythagorean theorem today because our city streets and our horizontal and vertical ball trajectories were perfectly perpendicular. But what happens in the real world when a boat travels diagonally across a river with a current pushing it at a random 45-degree angle? How do we calculate displacement when the vectors aren't perfectly perpendicular? We're going to tackle graphical and analytical methods for adding random vectors in our next explainer. See you there.